Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. This is Shaila Akhtar, Assistant Professor English. This class is prepared for the students of Masters final year. The topic of our today's class is The Unknown Citizen, and it's a poem written by Winston Hughes Auden from Modern Poetry. My dear students, you already have got introduced to Winston Hughes Auden. This is his picture for you. He was born in 1907 at York and died in 1973. Auden was influenced by Freud, Grodek, and Homer Lane in his approach to the problems of his time. He learned from Homer Lane the need and value of the change of heart for the betterment of the masses. Auden's psychological interests were very deep and varied, even greater than his social and political interests. The lonely and the unhappy bothered him most, and he endeavored to bring them solace and comfort through his understanding of human psychology. From 1956 to 61, Auden was a professor of poetry at Oxford University, and he has influenced many poets in Britain and America. But his specific influence has been on technique and attitude. The title of our today's poem is The Unknown Citizen, written by Winston Hughes Auden, and in accordance with the theme of this poem, I have used a picture here, and this picture implies a lonely individual in the materialistic world with scientific upheaval. So let's know about the unknown citizen, that means about whom the title is telling. So this unknown citizen is reminded of the monuments in memory of the known soldier. Those ordinary or obscure soldiers who laid down their lives in defending their motherland. The unknown citizen is the ordinary average citizen in the modern industrialized urban society. The poem is a satire on the modern craze for statistics or questionnaires for measuring a man. Here I have mentioned a number JS/07/M/378. This is the statistical record referred to a man by numbers. So Auden is here ridiculing the practice by which man is reduced to a mere number. And according to the poet, producers, research, and high-grade living, those are names of two imaginary firms who carry out investigations to find out the likes and dislikes of the customers to promote the sales of the commercial firms which employ them. So let's see what the poem tells us, and through this poem what the poet Winston Hughes Auden wants to tell us too. Some information about the poem The Unknown Citizen. This poem was first published in The Listener in 1939. This poem deals with the effect of science and technology on man in society, and later this poem included in the collected shorter poems in 1950. It is a satire on the modern craze for statistics to measure a man as a number, and Auden ridicules the practice by which man is reduced to a mere number. There is a total regimentation in modern industrialist society, and a man is reduced to a mere number. He loses all individuality and becomes a mere number. So he must conform to the accepted pattern, as any deviation from it will be regarded as abnormality or eccentricity. The theme of the poem: the pre-scientific society left much scope for the individuality of man, but in the modern age, according to Winston Hughes Auden, the science and technology has reduced the position of man to a cog in the machine. All his thoughts and feelings are manipulated by those who operate the machine of propaganda and persuasion. Modern man loses his power of individual thinking. Here, Auden paints the picture of such an unknown man, known by only a number, and the number I have mentioned already, that is JS07M378. Okay, now let's summarize the poem with critical evaluation. Auden, in this poem, The Unknown Citizen, satirizes the modern society which is devoid of religion and all other values of life. The modern society is committed to materialism, which makes the modern man unhappy. Social critics want to change in the values of modern society by advocating a revolution. Auden feels that both the society and the individual are to be blamed for the corruption that exists in the society. The unknown soldier is known by a number, and soldier's name is signified by a number, that is JS07M378. And modern age is an age of statistics, and every problem is analyzed by collecting information from various sources. The Bureau of Statistics found the unknown citizen to be a man who perfectly fitted into the system. So that is why he is important, being a very common man in the society. Okay, now let's have some ideas about the unknown citizen. This unknown citizen read newspapers daily and formed his opinion accordingly. During peace, war is painted as something horrible in the press, and he supported the case of peace. In the eve of war, the same press exhorts everybody to fight for the motherland, and our unknown citizen too reacted accordingly. So he stands for the modern man who had lost independent thinking and has become a cog in the machine of society. And the unknown citizen sketches in with the lightest of ironies some details of the average man, and bureaucracy cannot be concerned with the happiness of the individual, and bureaucracy cannot be concerned with any of the things that make him individual. So the question at the end of the poem is quite thought provoking, and the question is, if the man was free. But the answer is negative, because Freedom means freedom of conscience. So in the modern society, it is hard for an individual to hear the dictate of his conscience. A person who has become a cog in the machine of society, newspapers, unions, insurance people, etc., cannot be happy, according to Auden, and particularly when he has no individuality, no conscience of his own. So therefore, these two questions are highly ironical and sum up what has been said before. So let's give emphasis on the question again at the end of the poem, that is, if man was free, if that individual man was free. So here man has to live for greater community, and in this poem Auden implies that in such a society where a man has to live for the greater community, his individuality is annihilated. So man becomes a mere mechanical adjunct to the various social and economic institutions which take control of him. So the subtle irony which Auden employs here is that it is such obligations that give the modern man existence, definition and shape. So man in this modern society is forced to fulfill ridiculous obligations to his employers, union or social psychology and the press. So let's pay heed to the development of thought of this very poem. This poem deals with man in the modern age of science and technology, which force him to conform to a standard pattern of life and thought. Modern mass organized such as the factory or the trade union impose a uniformity on the individual, and this is strengthened by the press and the educational system. One such man gets killed in war, and the state has erected a monument in memory of this unknown citizen. So during the whole of his active career, there was no official complaint against him. He was a royal servant of the system. He always tried to serve the society. So before the war, he worked in the factory and he was never rebuked or dismissed from job. He always won praise for his sincerity. He was popular with his friends and liked a drink. That means he was always guided by the marketing system. Now let's have some information in detail about the unknown citizen first. So according to the poem, like any other man in the modern age, this very unknown citizen reads a newspaper every day. He reacted to the advertisement in the usual way of being guided by them in marketing purchase, and he had all the things supposed to be necessary for modern living, like a car, a radio, a phonograph, and a refrigerator. He was guided by the trend of thought set by the newspapers and other media of propaganda. So now let's see what I have mentioned here, the selected informations. During peacetime, he advocated the cause of peace, and when war broke out, he went to the front like many others. So he led the kind of family life led by millions of others. So he added 5 children to the population, a number supposed to be the right for a parent of his generation. As a student, he was very docile and never questioned his teachers on any issue. So we get the man swallowed up the system. Now the question comes again, whether such a man could have freedom or happiness. This question becomes an absurd one because they are not the relevant issues for a modern man who has become quite mechanical in his action, thought, and feeling. So, Auden's attempt to show how the average person is pressed into conformism by all social forces made to ignore that within modern society there are often deep conflicts between these social forces. So there are conflicts of labor and capital, population problems, the supply and demand problem. So advertisement and producers' research in the society demand free spending. On the other hand, the boom slump economy produces unemployment and periods of austerity. So these conflicts are actually characteristic of modern mass society, and they are same as the conformist influences. So these problems or conflicts make the average citizen a prey to dangerous forces, and Auden thought these should not have ignored. So from the analysis of the poem, we have come to know that the success of man in a commercialized society does not go together with happiness. The consideration of happiness is quickly set aside as something absurd because all that matters in such a world is how closely and blindly one can conform to its standards. The theme of conformity and absence of individuality, which Auden has treated of in his poem, is a modern concern. So the unknown citizen is written in a clear and simple style, and it is free from obscure references which we find in a considerable measure in Auden's poetry. It makes its appeal effectively by virtue of its simplicity, directness, and the humorous vein. So, this is all for today, my dear students. We will meet again with another class very soon. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and let's pray for each other. Thank you.